We dove right in last week.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. We got some deep waters there, man.
Yes, sir. Which is great. I think that's how it needs to be. Herein lies the problem with what we see in churches. We kind of dance around and skirt around issues and afraid to dive deep into them. So let's dive straight in. I'm Jason Earls, and this is my brother,
Jared Kiddoe, man.
a comedian and a psychiatrist. Walking to a church.
Walking to a church, man.
Creating a safe place for us to talk about the stuff that everybody deals with.
Exactly.
So last week we started talking about manhood, in particular, how oftentimes we determine our success off of so many other things other than what really matters. So I'll let you tee it up, doctor, because you.
Hey man, like look, the conversation, as we were talking last week, I was just like, man, like we could take so many tangents here because there's so many good fruitful spots where we need to do some digging, right?
Yeah.
And, it's just this whole idea of like, okay, as a man, how am I determining my success, right? So, one of the things that we spoke about initially last week was like, okay, we see some of these guys in the media, high profile preachers getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, man, like we didn't talk about that a lot, but like that was one place I was like, man, we should go back to that because there is a lot that's going on there. And it's not just in the people who are, quote unquote, messing up, but in us in terms of how we're looking at these people messing up, What are your thoughts being in the ministry? What are your thoughts about all of these, scandals and stuff?
So I'll go even for anybody who follows me closely, my affiliations in terms of when I left Virginia, came to Dallas to go to seminary. My first ministry job at 23 years old, 23 years old, was working at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, Dr. Tony Evans. It's,
Yes.
So I was ordained there as a leader. That's part of who I am in ministry is because of the ministry of Dr. Tony Evans.
Right.
So it kind of it's so let me just say this, and because a lot of people are saying a lot of stuff.
Yes.
About all and a lot of what's tripped out is, and as a comedian, I've seen this, like being close with some entertainers and being in the green rooms and knowing what's going on with these people's lives, and then something happens, and then the public has 18,000 opinions.
Yes.
Way out in left field.
Right.
So with all of these, whether it was those who I know personally or those who I don't, it's like you've got this wide range of, like with the Tony Evans, you don't know necessarily what it specifically was that he did, and everybody's speculating, all the way into to another one who has, like it's obvious, it's blatant what they've done.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And disgusting.
Yeah.
And so it's for me, because I've had friends that have made poor choices and got trapped into even too emotionally involved, even if it wasn't physical.
Yes.
It was emotional, which sometimes is even more damaging.
Yes. Listen, man, people don't realize that the emotional part of it can be even worse in certain ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, the wife's like, shoot, you didn't do nothing, but dang on, you spent a year and a half just developing this close, intimate relationship with this other sister. That's more heartbreaking. So I've seen that up close. And so, man, first of all, I've taken the standpoint this. I used to say, man, that had never happened to me.
Ooh, yeah.
I stopped saying that.
Right. Yeah.
And here's what I started saying, because I saw it come close to friends. I was like, I used to say, and I told my wife, I said, I used to say I'd never do this. I'm no longer saying that.
Right.
Now I'm going to say I have the propensity to,
Yes. Yes.
Therefore, here are the precautions that I take.
Yes.
So when like three of them in the DFW area happened within 3 weeks.
Oh wow. Wow.
So I got one of my close friends, a brother that I consider close friend in ministry, a large church here, uh, resigned. Then
Mm,
you had the Tony Evans thing, and then
right.
you had the Robert Morris thing,
Right.
and then since then, there's been about three more in the local area.
Wow.
Dude, so it's just blow after blow, really.
Oh, right. And
So
some
when
people
it
you
happened,
really
doctor,
respect too. Some people you really, really respect. And I mean,
uh,
in the Evans situation, we don't fully know everything, but it's like clearly something happened of that was serious enough.
and what's crazy about that one is I've been up close in offices and at tables and like,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this man as a man of integrity,
Right.
right? So, and as he said, the same grace that I've extended to others, and I've seen
Mm-hmm.
firsthand him walk marriages, friends of mine,
Right.
through some difficulty and healing their marriages. So to hear him say, man, now I gotta, the same grace I've extended to others, now I extend to myself.
Right.
One that spoke to the integrity of the church and of the
Mm-hmm.
leadership there and
Mm-hmm.
of him. But what I did was first I sat back and I just thought and processed and tried to watch my emotions. Like, how's this really
Mm-hmm.
affected me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
these are people I respect, people I love.
Right.
Uh, man, how is this? What's going on internally with me with that?
Mm-hmm.
And after I sat there for a while, I didn't even tell my wife, and I just really tried to like be,
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah, just man, how you feeling? What does it say? Like, let myself ask
Feel it.
myself, yeah, feel it.
Feel it. Yeah.
But then I text three leaders of the church, four leaders in my church. And the text message said, hey, so these things just happened in the news about these pastors. It's happened close to me before where it happened close. And so I
Mm.
always use this as a the fire marshal inspection.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So I go through and like, okay, if it happened here, it could happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go check my fire escapes. Let me check my exit signs. Let me check my fire extinguisher. Let me
What
check
is yeah.
my defibrillators.
Right.
like
What's the
yeah.
carbon monoxide levels? Like you wanted to replace these batteries, right?
Absolutely. I do all that. Just like, hey, so just just and I have a system set up for myself
Mm-hmm.
that at any moment where I even feel tempted or my mind pops up, I have these escape routes of people that I call.
Oh, man, that's great.
And then people not used to that, but I got these systems. I'm like, so
Yeah.
I reestablished. I told these four leaders, I was like, so if you ever randomly get a message about me saying that, hey man, I'm thinking this, I'm feeling this, there's no need of concern. It's just fire time. It's like,
Right.
yo,
Yeah.
the fire alarm went off. And I'm
Yeah.
just sounding alarm,
Right.
and
Right.
told
You're
them like
ready.
my wife is another one. And I don't suggest this for every couple because some
Right.
couples aren't as healthy as this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my wife and I have created a system to where if my mind goes there, her mind goes there with someone, or somebody approached one of us that made us feel a little, we talk to
Mm.
each other about it.
Right. Right.
And
Good.
so those are that. So that's how it affected me personally. But then I thought about, man, I actually lead people. How are they processing? So the first 2 weeks I didn't say anything at the church, but then the third week I was like, I need to say something.
Right. Yeah.
I need to say something to help people process and just, and I have a
What what
period. Go
what were
ahead.
people's responses like? What were the general responses from people in the congregation?
Thank you. Thank you for saying
Mm-hmm.
something. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for addressing it. We didn't know what to say,
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes when people don't know what to say, they don't say anything or they talk foolishly.
Right. That. Yep. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
That's the general rule. That's the general rule. They don't say
So
nothing or they just say what
yeah,
not.
I
Yeah.
felt like I had to help people to know how to talk about it. It's just like, hey, you know what? Don't don't be afraid. You can ask me questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you
Right.
can, here's what my system looked like, and I explain to my system. I like if any one of y'all ladies ever step up and try to come, like first of all, I'm gonna tell my wife.
Yeah. Yes. And then my wife is gonna snatch your soul, right? Yeah.
Right. I said, but also I've got these deacons in place that,
Right.
and these are my brothers. And
Right.
so I can have manly conversations with them about the
Mhm.
thing. But ultimately, just know, Satan wants to destroy the church.
Yes, and here's the thing, man. Let me just say this: like, I think it's just fantastic that you have a system. I think
Yeah,
it's fantastic because I think most men, preachers or not preachers, don't have a system,
yeah,
right? Like they're just walking. They're just marks, Like we talk about somebody's a mark, like they're just walking marks. Like it's just the
yeah,
devil just has to arrange the right situation, and they're gonna fall right in, right? Because
absolutely.
they don't have a system. They don't have people in their life that keep them accountable, people that can speak into them,
Yeah,
and provide that assistance. And and it's really crazy because I think, and I think it is, and there's reasons why I think that we'll get into why I think um, it's especially people who are in positions like yourself, preachers and stuff like that, are I think particularly at risk for this. But I think for us as men in general, like I think the expectation we need to have is that this is something that I'm going to have to tackle at some point in my life.
yes,
Like
yes.
not like, man, if this, no, this is going to happen. And it would be like Noah, like not listening to God, not building the ark. I was like, okay, well, it's never rained before, so I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't gonna build
Right.
it. And then when the first raindrops started coming, it's like, oh man, y'all saw the instruction list because we need to do something real quick, like right now, right? Like right now. We got to put this thing together right now.
Yeah, right. What them nails at? What them
Yeah,
nails?
exactly. Grab some animals. You grab the chicken over there, man. Let's
Right.
get some dogs here. Let's get this thing rock and rolling. We got like 20 minutes to get this thing
Yeah.
going. And so that's how a lot of times our mentality, I think, as men are towards, specifically sexual sin,
Hmm.
right? But other things as well, but especially sexual sin, because I think the way in which our minds work, the way in which God has made us as men, and obviously men and women, there's a lot of variation in between in terms of like some women are more sexual than men and
Right.
their partners. So I'm not trying to make blanket statements, but I think for a lot of men, we are definitely much more susceptible to the sexual sin side of things, and not really understanding that and not believing that puts us in a position where the devil can easily take advantage of us.
Yeah.
And in the world that we live in today, which is just really, man, it's like you don't have to look for problems in that area. Those
Right.
problems find you. It's just a foolhardy thing not to have a system.
Absolutely.
It just
So what's
doesn't.
funny is, dude, my system was created kind of like a little bit on the fly. Like I was already thinking through this stuff when I made that statement years ago. I'm no longer saying that I won't. I'll say I have the ability to. Therefore, this is what I'll do. I went to the bank, and this is the story to what you're saying.
Right.
I went to the bank, and the teller that I was talking to, man, we looked at each other, and I said something to make her laugh, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Right. Right. Automatically.
I was like, "Whoa, okay." Like I felt something.
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I ain't saying that she felt something. Like I know
Right.
she did, and I felt. I walked out the bank and I was like, "Yo," I called one of my boys.
Right. Right.
I said, "Listen, man, I need you to call me on the 1st and the 15th of every month." I like, dude, put it in your calendar. Call me on the 1st and the 15th. He was like, "Okay, what's up?"
What's going
I said,
on?
"All right,
Right.
when you call me, I need you to ask me a series of questions.
Ooh.
The first question I need you to ask me is, did I go inside the bank or did I go to the bank? If I say yes, I need you to ask me, did I go through that teller's line or did that teller wait on me? If I say yes, I need you to ask me, did I do anything to make her laugh so she can look at me and
Oh.
have a good conversation?
Oh. Man.
And if I say yes, I need you to ask me, what was I thinking and what was I feeling if I did that?
Mhm.
And dude, he was like, dude, what's wrong? What happened?
What happened?
I said, nothing.
Right.
I'm trying to make sure it doesn't.
Right.
and then I went and got my wife
Mm.
the next day, and I like, hey, let's take a ride. And we rode up to the bank, and I went through drive-through. I was like, and so it just so happened that Taylor was in the drive-through.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know her schedule, y'all. I was just like, it was just
Right.
random. So, and so she waited on us, and I said, see her? I said, yesterday she waited on me, and she looked at me, and I felt something. I ain't saying it was her.
Right.
I ain't saying
Right.
it was me. I said, but something was there,
Right.
and I just wanted to make you aware of it. So
What? How did your wife respond to that?
she was like, okay, I got you. I see that Satan trying to get up in this piece.
Man.
Now, but
Listen.
but here's why.
Yeah.
Here
Go ahead. Go ahead.
here's why we created that system years ago. Because years prior, she came to me and she was like, Jason, I need to talk to you because I know it ain't nothing but the devil. All right. I was like, okay. She was like, so remember you kept saying you kept saying, let's go over hang out with our friends. There's a friend couple that we always hung out with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
She said, lately I've been saying no. I was like, yeah, I noticed that. She was like, all right, let me explain to you what happened. Nothing appropriate happened,
Right.
but I
Nothing
had a dream.
inappropriate. Nothing inappropriate happened. Right.
Nothing inappropriate happened, but I had a dream about him.
Mm.
And she said it was weird that hey, he was in my dreams.
Right. Right. Right.
And like what we were kind of talking about, like again, nothing inappropriate, but it was a little shaky.
Right.
She said, and then the reason why I know it was the devil, but dude, they live completely on another side of town than us.
Right.
She said, I went to the grocery store around the corner and he was there with his son. She was like, this is really weird.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
then she was like, so I just want to tell you that happened in my dream. Then that happened. And we just need to pray. And I was like, great, thanks for trusting me enough. Let's pray about it. And then I was like, I knew how the devil was gonna come at me. And so then my thoughts were away from her, like, what that dude do to make your wife think about him? What is it that you're not doing? I was like, devil, you can't. Don't even
Right.
try
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Setting
Don't
up all
even.
these stories. Setting up
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
stories.
It's not even. It ain't that type of
Not
party.
even like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
clearly, just like sometimes Satan can put something in our mind, or something can come up in our mind, and we just got to pray against it.
Listen, man. Let me just say this real quick because I think I need to say this because as a quick aside, like one, that's amazing. That's amazing that you guys did that. Like
Yeah,
I would say 9 out of 10 couples couldn't do that.
right,
That's
right.
just the truth. Like 9 out of 10 couples couldn't do that. That's a blessing. That's a true blessing because it's a testament to the nature of your guys' relationship,
Hmm.
right? Because what you're describing to me sounds like a relationship wherein there is a deep level of trust, there is a friendship that
Yeah,
goes beyond just obviously the romantic part, but there's a friendship where like you guys look out for each other,
indeed.
and there's an openness of that relationship to kind of just talk about, like, it seems like, you know nothing is really out of bounds to
Right.
kind of bring up, right? And I just have to say, like, so many people struggle in their marriages, so many men struggle in their marriages because they don't have that kind of relationship,
Yeah.
right? They don't have that friendship as a bedrock. They don't have that spiritual mindset to be like, look, like, stuff is going to happen. You can't control it.
Right.
And we're partners, we're teammates. And so when something kind of weird happens, we shouldn't be turning on each other.
Yeah.
We should be, right? It should be like, why are you dreaming about this dude?
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
whoa. What else been going on, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it only at night you be dreaming about him, or you be daydreaming too, right?
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, and then all of a sudden, no, you're having a conversation you don't need to be having, and
Absolutely.
you have made the relationship an unsafe place for
Yeah.
conversations that need to happen.
Yeah.
So I just want to shout out what you just said, man, because I think it's so important. It's so amazing. And I think everyone really should be, their goal should be to have, at least in that context, because I'm not trying to say, man, I know everything about your relationship, but in
Right.
terms of what you just said, everybody really should aim to have a relationship like that with their partner.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they need to put in the work to try to get
Hmm.
to that place. Because, and for some people it's harder than others. Your relationship may have started off in a bad place in the first place, and it's
Right.
hard to get there. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that, man, because I think it is so critical that people realize that your partner needs to be your best friend,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
both emotionally and spiritually.
Right. And to dive in and do that work, that with no pride set aside, understanding that the enemy wants to destroy your marriage.
Yes, that's one of his number one goals.
Absolutely.
Because he knows that marriages and families serve as, and I want to be careful. I'm not trying to say that, hey, like, if you're not married, then God has no use for you, because that's not the truth at all. We know that
Right.
Paul, the most effective Christian ever, did not have a wife, and his not being married was actually a benefit to the work he had to do, right?
Absolutely.
So it's not about that. But I do think in terms of, if you think about multiplier effects, I think families and marriages serve as multiplier effects. Of, if you have a spiritual marriage, you've got a household that is trying to be a spiritual place. It's a multiplier effect in the church. It's a multiplier effect in your community, and so the devil wants to stop all of that.
Yeah.
And so he is an enemy of your marriage. Like, we think our partner is the enemy. You are not the enemy of each other. The devil is the only real enemy you really have. And
So
when you
good.
recognize that, it changes the whole game.
Absolutely. It allows you to approach conversations and not blame each other.
Yes.
Like, yo, here's how he's getting in, and this thing set on me. It sits on you sometimes. Like, let's just deal with it.
Right. Let's just deal with it. Exactly.
And that, what was, so here's even a funnier thing that came out of it. When we started doing a little bit of work after we had the conversation, after we prayed through it, like, okay, let's revisit a little bit. Like, what is it that you think happened with, like, why is it that happened? Like, is it any reason why?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you know what? Not that I'm attracted to him at all, but we were in this baby stage. We had 3 babies, and she was like, I realized he's been dressed in a certain way that you used to dress like, but you stopped since we had babies, and you just consistently throwing on stuff. And I was like, oh, so I need to make sure I'm looking presentable for you.
Right. Man, listen, man. Listen, hey, we could do a whole podcast on just how do you present yourself to your partner after you've been married a few years.
Bro.
Because, man, listen, I'm trying to tell you, we underestimate how important things like that are.
Yeah.
Because when you were dating your partner, especially in the beginning part of the dating experience, right?
Right.
You ain't trying to show up looking rough in front of your partner, right? You
Right.
and I'm not saying that you can't relax and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, like, we have to be mindful that our level of investment in our marriage, on all fronts, right, can't
Yeah,
be going down over time.
right.
If anything, it needs to be going up. We need to be in the midst of the craziness of life. We need to be trying harder that we were
Yeah,
when we first got together, to make sure that, hey, at least every once in a while, like, we are looking good for our partners, because our humanity doesn't stop when we put the ring on.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that can be whatever whatever makes either spouse say, huh, okay, okay then.
Right.
Like
Yes,
we
exactly.
got to do that, especially fellas. We got to do that. Not only we got to not, we have to do that not just when we want something. Not when we just try,
Ooh,
like, girl, I'm
ooh,
trying to get me something tonight. Let me make sure I look nice. Yeah,
right.
that's the
And
only
and and
time.
and the tough part for men, for us as men, a lot of the times, is that we think more about, in general, this is just a general, we
Yeah,
think more about that stuff than women. And so it's like, there's a lot of times where it's like, man, the thought comes before the intention of, like, hey, let me do something and clean myself up. The thought of, like, hey, I want to get some, comes first before I even think
yeah.
about it. So you have to be intentional about it, to be like, hey, I'm gonna make this as a part of my, as try to part of my regular routine as much as I can, so that I'm doing it when and when the thoughts are there and when the thoughts aren't there.
I know one of my comedian friends said the only reason why men wash their hind parts is because of women. Like,
Say it ain't so, brother. Say it ain't. That that is a problem on
dude.
many fronts. Right.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you what blessed me, man. When my one time my daughter, my wife told me I had pulled up to the house, and my daughter, who was probably like 3 years old at that time, ran upstairs, did her hair, and brushed her teeth like daddy's home.
Oh, oh,
And
nice.
so what she was mimicking what she
Exactly.
had seen my wife do.
Right, right, exactly.
Because my wife said when my wife was a stay-at-home mom, my wife was like, man, you've been out in the streets working all day in these professional environments, seeing all these women looking
Hmm.
professional and looking their top. When you come home, you shouldn't have to just come home to me looking any kind of way.
Yes,
And I was
yes.
like, wow, I didn't realize that she did that. I was like,
Wow.
yeah. So,
And
and
that's
I
a lot
was
too.
like, I need to give her that same love.
Exactly, 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 exactly. So, um, going back to the discussion now.
Yeah, let's go back. Like, let's
Yeah,
get
yeah.
along with
We
that.
went from side paths, which were good side paths, but going back. So yeah, keep saying what you were saying before. So you had, I think, one of the last things I mentioned about was like how the church had responded, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
so yeah, but the church didn't, I had to give them permission or
Hmm.
teach them like, hey, it's okay to talk about it,
Yeah.
but here's how you ought to talk about it. Just
Hmm.
be very careful how you address things, and just let him who stands take heed lest he fall.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
it's so easy for us as men when we see a person fall, then we all do the like, man, look at them. I mean, it's in our nature. Look at how we watch the Olympics. We will never play ping pong, but on a professional level, but criticize people playing ping pong, volleyball,
Yeah. Exactly.
gymnastics. Like, oh,
Yeah.
she did that wrong. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. It's like, what you needed to sit down. You just need to sit
right?
down.
Yeah,
No.
but I think I think it's to your point is we're not. I think oftentimes we forget about our humanity and that we actually are humans and we actually are men and we have the propensity to mentally, psychologically go a certain way. And what you said something real crucial last week. It's like our trauma that we've never dealt with
Yes.
shows up on how we handle everything else.
Listen, man, and that is the thing, right? So like, so going to like the whole idea of like when we think about men in power, and black men in power, but men in power in general, like there's these strings that we're being puppeted by that we don't
Mm.
realize, right? Like there's things that are controlling us that are deeply, deeply placed in our lives that we're unaware of. You know, how we were raised, what our society says about us, um, trauma in our lives that
Yeah.
direct us, right? And so now these things are operated and we're unaware of it. So what ends up happening? So let's talk about these men who have been found in kind of these compromising situations, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, the first thing I would say is like, man, listen, as you said, like anyone who thinks that they're better than these guys, the devil already has you, right? Like the devil already got you, right? So we're not even trying to. It's not even about that. He already
Right.
got it. The issue is that there's learning to happen here, right? And I think a lot of the times, because it happened to David, right? Like
Yeah.
David was a man after God's own heart and found himself like almost none of these preachers will say, hey man, like, yeah, I had an affair, but not only did I have an affair, I had a child with this person. Not only did I have a child with this person, I murdered this person's husband,
Right.
like it's not even that deep, right? It's
Right.
not, it doesn't even get that deep. But David did that, right? He did
Yeah.
that. He straight up killed a dude, right, who was not trying to do anything except serve him, right? And he had to deal with the consequences of that. But when you look at David's life, one of the things I've always said is that, okay, I believed, because David had multiple wives,
Yeah.
right? And to me, it's like, okay, the problem with Bathsheba started before Bathsheba,
That's so good.
right? It started before he decided not to go off to war when everybody
Yeah.
else went off to war, right?
Right.
Because he started to, collect wives, kind of like people collect Pokemon, right? Like
Yeah.
he was just out there just catching them all, right? And then
Exactly.
and so he put that, and then unfortunately Solomon learned that lesson and took it to another level. But anyway, but he was doing that stuff, and that to me was the first set of compromises he started to make, because
Mm.
God did not want you to have many wives as a
Right.
king, right? He didn't want that because he
Yeah.
knew it would lead to trouble, right? And I think for us as men, we have to realize that when we are now in positions of power, like David was. David, I assume, was probably very isolated. He didn't have people speaking into his life,
Yeah.
right? No, we know later on, we see that he had a council of people speaking into his life later on.
Right.
That was probably as a consequence of the whole Bathsheba mess, right?
That's right.
And remember, he also had lost Jonathan, right? So Jonathan
Hmm.
died. He would have been the perfect dude to be like, dude, like you messing up,
Right.
like what's
Absolutely.
going on, right? And he lost those people, so he got isolated, and that happens to a lot of people in power, a lot of men in power, is that it's a very isolating experience.
Yeah.
And if you're not proactive about setting up those systems,
Hmm.
right, then what's going to end up happening is that those propensities are going to start coming into play without anyone being able to catch it.
Right.
Those traumas that tell us that, hey, I am not allowed to be human, but instead I have to show my worth
Yeah.
and work really hard and produce and all that, which dehumanizes you further.
Hmm.
It puts you in a place where, like, listen, you have nowhere to go. You have no one to talk to. You are completely isolated. And so now you are literally that antelope in the jungle. I mean, in Sierra, wherein the rest of the pack has gone on, and you hanging in the back,
Wow.
and those lions are finding you.
Yeah. Easy. Like
It's not
easy.
even hard work.
Right.
Like we see the devil working really hard to like get us. Like,
Yeah.
man, I'm trying to tell you, for most of us, the devil not working that hard, man.
Right. He ain't even got a jump. He just like, yeah, like
I said, I've done this a million times, and I'm going to do it,
yeah.
right?
Uh.
And so when we don't have these things addressed, we are emotionally unfulfilled and
Hmm.
and empty. We are spiritually living a life that is not true, because on the one hand, we're working hard for God. On the other hand, we're not walking with God
Yeah.
the way we should. Because if you don't have other people around you, it's impossible to walk with God the way you're supposed to if you
Right.
don't have other people around walking with you.
And everything becomes, you said, like everything becomes about acceptance, which is so anti-kingdom, bro.
Yes.
Well, one thing that did I make sure? Well, I didn't make sure. And again, we know I got stuff, especially from last week. But I found myself like when I became a pastor, dude, my preaching style shifted instantly.
Mm.
And here's why. I recognized that I had a voice
Right.
that was easily influenced, that would easily influence people, and I didn't want to manipulate. Neither did I want to fall into the trap of preaching to please and to move people.
Ooh. That and
So,
that's a temptation, man.
dude, well, there's this verse that says, it's in First Corinthians that God sent me not to preach. God sent me to preach the gospel, not to baptize, but to preach the gospel,
Preach.
not with wisdom of words. That's the cross of Christ being a non-effect.
Right. Yes.
And
Yes.
that became big time for me. It's like I realized if I rearrange this sentence or say this sentence in a certain way, it can get an emotional response out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And people will celebrate not the Lord, but my ability to rearrange the word.
Yes. 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 So that psychological kind of manipulation.
Yeah. And I'm just like, J. Earls ain't gonna do that one. Like that, I do not, because ultimately I want to see people walking in truth and honoring God because God has said, not because I don't want to see people move because
Right.
Jason said do it.
Right. 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 I
So
get
and for me, that's and I can't remember if I said this last week, but that's the unattractive thing about preachers and pastors. Not and I know I'm making an overgeneralization. You got to be very careful when you
it.
start talking about this stuff. But for me, I'm a comedian.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Comedy's the platform. If
Right.
I'm gonna rearrange sentences to get a
Right.
response,
Right.
that's what comedy is.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
let me tell this story so I can get an emotional response, make you
Mm-hmm.
laugh. Preaching is like, man, I can't bring that over there. I get to I get to eat that candy over there on the comedy stage. That's
Yeah.
not for over here in that pulpit,
Right.
bro.
Right. Right. And so right, and that's the thing, right? So like that dopamine hit that people can get as preachers doing that kind of stuff. And the problem is that the Bible talks about how the heart is such a deceitful thing, right?
Yeah,
You may not even see that it's happening fully. You may be like, man,
right.
like, people are really responding to what I'm saying, and this is so important that they hear it. And man, I could tell that people that we'll say the spirit was working here, or the spirit was moving here, or
Yeah,
whatever it is, right? And it's like, really, was it the spirit? But like but the only way a lot of times we know how to measure that response is how people emotionally respond to stuff.
right.
So it's very easy. I could see why it'd be very hard not to go down a path, especially when you're like, I know I could do that. I could
Yeah,
do that. And maybe if I get them in the right emotional frame of mind, it will open up their spiritual heart to hear what they need to hear on my
right.
next line. So then when I drop the next bar on them, now it's going to go right where it needs to go because I got
Yeah,
it in the previous section.
yeah, yeah, brother. Now here's a question though.
Yeah.
So that's on the preacher end. From the people in the church end, why is it that people are so easily manipulated by that?
Listen, man. Okay. So, okay. And I'm glad you brought this up because I think our next pod needs to be about spiritual abuse.
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
About spiritual abuse. Because I think it's related to what you just said. Because listen, I think we have gotten Christianity, specifically in America. I think we've gotten Christianity completely upside down.
Yeah.
I think somewhere along the way we missed something really important. And I think for a lot of us as Christians, we walk into church looking for the preacher to fill up our gas tank,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not saying you shouldn't be in a place where people are preaching the word and all that kind of stuff and the good word, and that you're not being fed. But I think people, and the problem is that a lot of times that's the only place they're getting filled up. They're not reading their Bibles outside of
Right.
that. you're not doing, that work, that really the Monday through Saturday work, right?
Yeah.
And so I desperately need this full up here because my tank is on E and I need it to
Right.
fill back up. And that makes it very susceptible to being manipulated and put in the wrong direction. Because one, you don't know how to understand and interpret the word. Two, you're not doing the heavy lifting yourself. So you're like a baby in a
Right.
high chair getting fed. So you haven't learned to make your own meals. You haven't learned how to use a knife and fork. You haven't learned how to eat meat. So so now you're just being spoon fed for this
Yeah.
person to kind of help fill your tank up till the next Sunday.
Right.
So it puts you in a frame where it makes it very easy. And then now let's put the black effect on top of it.
Mm.
Because the thing about it is that, for a lot of reasons, many of them, is due to the history of racism in our country. Um, the Black church has been forced to be this really pivotal place within the Black community,
Yeah.
right? Like disproportionately compared to other groups, right?
Right.
And in a certain way, that's good, but in another way, it's not. Because
Mm-hmm.
now we are then now investing a lot of trust and power in the people who are the shepherds of these churches, right?
Right.
And we really think that they walk on water and whatever it is they say, I need to just take it as gospel.
Yeah.
And so it makes it easy for my heart to be not led by what God is saying, but like, man, this is what the pastor is saying.
That's good. That's good. So we'll deal more about that and that next week. But I want to make sure that I yield 5 more minutes of our time together for you to really speak to, re-emphasize this idea of men having this trauma. How do we heal, or how do we fix that part of us that does things for the wrong type of affirmation?
Right.
Knowing that, I know, like for me, I always go, man, Colossians chapter 2, man. And this is my go-to.
Yeah.
I'm complete in Christ.
Right. Yes. 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 Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like nothing I can do can add to or take away from. It's Christ who completes me. But from a practical standpoint, let's say I'm a preacher, or let's say I'm a parent who I'm only doing things that make me feel good, that it's giving me some dopamine hit. And
Right.
as a result, it's causing me to manipulate my children,
Mm-hmm.
manipulate the people in my church around me, or just regular folks. I'm find themselves manipulating everybody just so I can use them to get a dopamine hit. What steps do I begin to take
Right.
to uh to
To
right
be
the ship?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's such an important question. I mean, I think the first thing you said, I think is absolutely important. I think we really need to, we have to realize that the most important ministry God is going to do with us is the ministry He does in us, right?
So good.
So, really, we have to be going to God to kind of really be part of that process of
I'm
like,
right. That's a tweet. I'm writing that down. The most important work that God would do with us uh, is what He does inside of us.
exactly, exactly. Because,
Yeah,
and a lot of times we put it the other way around. I'm doing this work for God, so then the more work I do for God is the better our relationship is going to be, me and
yeah,
God. And it's like, no, 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 no. It's the other way around. You have to. So whether you're a preacher, you're a lay person, it doesn't matter. Like God's ministry within you. That's why on the last day, there's going to be those people who will say, "Did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not do many miracles in it?" Because God didn't say, "Hey, you didn't do any of these things." He was like, "Yeah, you did all of that stuff, but I
yeah.
never knew you," which means that the relationship wasn't there. And so
Absolutely.
we need to be seeking healing through our relationship with God. That's one of the things that's like, listen, God, you see the parts of me that are broken. Help me to recognize those places. Help me to heal those places, right? Help me to
Mhm.
see those places. We need to be doing that kind of work and be fulfilled in God first and primarily, and
Yeah.
not give outside affirmation to fill ourselves. And then beyond that, in terms of like, okay, so what does that practically look like? That's accountability, meaning that you have accountability partners in your life, men or women, depending on your sex, who are going to be in your life, who are pouring into you, hold you accountable, want to see you grow spiritually, who are themselves growing spiritually. Don't find an accountability partner who ain't trying to do better themselves. and who
Right.
ain't trying to grow, right? You have to find people who are on the path, who are trying to grow. They don't have to be perfect. That's not the point, but they're
Yeah.
trying to grow, right? So they can pour into you, keep you accountable. And then now, especially within the Black community, because we have so much unhealthy patterns of family that affect who we are and how we
Mm.
traumas, whether externally or internal to the home. Like we have some deep, deep stuff that we have to address, which
Yeah.
means that, hey, listen, one of the favorite church shirts my wife likes to wear is that, hey, you can love Jesus and have a therapist too, right?
Right.
Like these are not mutually exclusive things, right?
Absolutely.
Like, and matter of fact, especially if you're trying to get into any leadership position, especially within the church. If you're trying to say, hey, man, I want to have a family, listen, to me, like those are dangerous things to ask for.
Wow.
Because if you are not ready to step up into those roles, you are putting yourself in a place where God is going to be judging you for stuff you are completely unprepared to be handling.
Listen, brother. That's one of the scariest things for me.
It's terrifying, man.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Like, like when I was young, I was like, man, when I grow up, I want to be I want to be a doctor, but I want to be an elder too, right? But as
Yeah.
I got older, I'm just like, man, listen, man, listen. I'm happy to even try to do the work of an elder, but
Right.
I don't even want nobody trying to talk to me about that because it's a terrifying responsibility when you are responsible for people's souls, and the same level of responsibility applies to you in the home. That's why the Bible says, if you don't know how to lead your home, you have no business being an elder,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. It's, man, the idea of it's like Jesus says this in John 10. It's like, yo, like there's you got a good shepherd and you got a hireling. And when trouble happens, that hireling flees.
Yeah, yes. Like I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah,
No, I'm out.
I'm out. Like, yo, forget that. And the fact that, man, when people's stuff show up, man, you got to be there to help them through, bro.
Yes.
That's like, man,
And
without
I was just gonna say, listen, man, I grew up in the church and I have a lot of friends who are preachers. I'm just like, listen, some of the most difficult people to deal with are people in the church, right? Like,
yeah,
and it's not their fault because the world has broken them.
right.
The devil has broken them, and now they're coming in the church and they're trying to find their way. Like, listen, you will mess these people up unless you are doing hard work.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother.
You're gonna mess your children up unless you're doing hard work.
Yes, sir.
Like you have to get inside. So that's scripture. That's seeing a therapist. Hey man, like I have stuff I need to talk about. I there's stuff I probably need to talk about with you, therapist, that I don't even know that I need to
Right.
talk about, so that I can start digging into this stuff because there's all of this stuff here that is, and this is the things we think that we're in control of our lives,
Mm.
but it's oftentimes these deeply, deeply buried psychological things from our past that control the decisions we make on a day-to-day basis and how we react to people in our lives.
Yep. And the scary thing is the stuff that we don't know that's influencing that hadn't been dug up.
Yes,
That's,
yes,
that's like,
yes.
oh, yeah. Yes,
So
sir.
it's
Look,
tough, man.
absolutely. So it's that time. I'm gonna let you have the last word, bro, to kind of tie the bow and everything.
Listen, I was recently on another podcast talking about this idea, like, okay, especially for us as men, what does it mean to be a man, right?
Yeah.
The world has a lot of ideas about that. How much, what's your bank account looking like, how many followers you have online, whatever metrics it is, right? But we have to realize that our manhood is not defined by what it is that we produce for whoever, whether it's producing for God, producing for a family, producing for us. Our manhood is not defined by that. Our manhood is defined by, okay, do I have relationships where I'm pouring into people?
Mm.
And do I have relationships where other people are pouring into me? Right? Am I protecting as a man, especially a leader of my home? Am I emotionally protecting my wife? Am I emotionally protecting my kids? Am I
Yeah.
emotionally protecting them from me?
Mm,
right? Like from my stuff, right? So
right.
the manhood, the way we need to be looking at manhood is that like okay, well, how dynamic or charismatic a leader that I am, or whatever it is. It's about, okay, God has put me in this position to protect people, and He has put
Hmm.
people in my lives that I need to protect and pour into. But I cannot do that unless I've poured into myself,
So good.
unless God is pouring into me. And if I'm not actively doing that, I have no business trying to give people water to drink from an empty well.
Mm, so good,
So
brother.
we have to make sure we're in a position where the water is overflowing and people can live from, can benefit and be blessed from our overflow in our lives. And that means we have to do the hard work.
And that's why we're saying, hey, join us on this journey as we have conversations from a psychiatrist and a comedian as we walk into the church. See y'all next time.
Next time,
Peace.
peace.